We're live.
Well, hello and welcome to the Waking Up Spiritually podcast. I'm Wendy Rose Williams, and I have Gregg Kirk with me as my co-host. And we're so happy to have you here, whether you're joining us live or whether you're joining us via podcast apps or going to wakingupspiritually.com where we archive all the broadcasts, or finding us via our YouTube channel. So I am a past life adventure guide, and I help people release pain, anxiety, depression, different types of energies that just don't serve you anymore, and the associated emotions, and being able to release those and just move into a much higher vibration and frequency. Don't we all want that? And I'll turn it over to Gregg to introduce today's topic.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gregg Kirk. I'm an energy healer, health coach. I run a weekly online group healing circle, and you can come meet me at greggkirk.com. That's spelled GREGGKIRK.com. And check out the events, or if you're interested in the online group healing circle, I help patients very similar to Wendy, try to get them in a better place, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. And so one of the things that's come up in our groups, Wendy and I talked about this last week, is there's a lot of people, coming to the circles, or this is coming up in the energy sessions I'm doing with people, where people are saying, hey, we're still kind of in a pandemic. There's a new war going on, and everything just seems so chaotic right now. Like, what do I do about it? And it's affecting people, emotionally. Like, some people are people who are watching a lot of the news and getting all wrapped up in that, or they're not happy. They feel helpless, or they feel fearful. And other people are reacting to those people. So I've got people who have family members who are all wrapped up in the news and are getting angry about it, and then are getting angry at them for not getting wrapped up in the news. So there's this different levels of things going on, and the commonality in all of this is all these people are saying, what should I be doing? Some of this doesn't feel right. I know it, but what are my alternatives? Marching in the streets, joining the army, what do I do? Sit here and meditate? I don't know. Some people think they call me irresponsible, and they say I'm ignoring the news and putting my head in the sand. So we talk through all of this today, and it's timely. And so without any further ado, I'm going to share my screen for those of you watching this either live or watching on YouTube or our channel. Today's topic is, what's my role in a chaotic world? So over to you, Wendy.
Okay, so let's move forward one more slide. So this might sound selfish, surprising. This might sound like you're not doing anything, but what if your number one job in a chaotic world is to take amazing care of yourself? What if we realize that the only way there's going to be peace in this world is if we can find peace within us? Hence, the cat, the world's most relaxed cat in this visual, taking its nap, because cats are such sensual creatures. They so love their bodies. They will find the most comfortable place in the house at all times, and no bones about it. They're good with sleeping 16 hours a day. So it's the extreme example of, what if we realize that the energy we create within ourselves is then what we radiate out and what we ripple out. And it's like those beautiful dominoes. If you've ever seen those competitions on television or anywhere else where someone can spend literally days setting up these dominoes and these incredible patterns, and then you get to enjoy that moment where they tip the first domino and they all go over perfectly. What if that's you radiating out peace or love or joy or whatever makes you the happiest? So that's the first thing I want to say. Any comments on that, Greg? Because
Yeah.
we're not socialized this way.
Right, right. So one thing we are socialized in is anybody who's ever been on an airplane and anybody who's ever gone through that drill in the beginning where the flight attendants are saying, okay, in the event of low pressure in the cabin, these masks are going to fall down. And they say to you, put it, adults, put it on your face first and then put it on a child. Why are they saying that? Because you're the one who's capable of giving the most help, right? So take care of yourself first. Make sure you're good so then you can help others. This is exactly more or less what Wendy is saying here. And if your
Yes.
vibration is good, to Wendy's point, you're going to vibrate out. And the opposite is true. If you are going to be
Absolutely.
infected, I'm using the word infected with these low frequencies, these low emotions that you're watching on TV or your news feed, on your computer or your phone, you will be infected with those low frequencies. So it's up to you to take care, to shake those off, to do a meditation, do whatever you can to take care of yourself, so you're radiating out in a frequency of love. So 100%
It's
agree with you.
making that conscious choice. And first responders are taught the same thing, that the most important pulse on the scene, you would think it would be the patient, the victim, whatever term you want to use, but first responders are taught, take your own pulse first. Because if they are just in the throes of adrenaline, they are not going to take the best care of that patient.
Right.
So it really is job number one, is take
Yep.
care of you.
Love it.
That's your role in a chaotic world.
Yeah. Okay. End of broadcast. Just kidding. Okay. So I just want to, underline the topic itself. So, it feels like we're in a chaotic world. And I think for anybody who is watching any kind of broadcast, that's the way it's meant to feel. That's how they get more views. That's how they get more clicks. That's how they get more eyeballs, by amping up the level of chaos. So I just want to point out that end of the world prophecies, and which is probably the most chaos you can generate, is talking about end of the world. They've been going on for millennia. So we've been, the world there's always been that guy walking around on the street corner saying the end is near since I can remember. So just let's put that into perspective. The other thing is this, we live in a world of balance. So as much as there are, bad things going on, wars in different parts of the world, and disease and pestilence and hunger and all that kind of stuff, there's an equal balance of the opposite of that. And you have the choice to focus on the one you want, okay? So I think a lot of people who are engaging in this media that's upsetting them, you have the choice to turn it off. And it doesn't mean you're an irresponsible person, because that's what I hear whenever I say to anyone, like, I don't want to hear about that. And they feel like I'm shirking my responsibility as a citizen of Earth to, that I should be paying attention to this stuff. But what I say back to them is, how does that stuff make you feel? And then the second thing is, what are you going to do about it? So are you just watching this stuff and then just getting frustrated from it? Are you going to fly over to Ukraine and fight in the war to help whatever side you want? Or are you gonna help refugees? Or, I know that there's some fundraisers that are going around to try to help refugees and people like that. And that's a great thing that you can do that. But then, the whole thing is about point of focus. So if your point of focus is making you not feel well, then you've been infected with this low frequency, and you have the choice. And I think you have the responsibility to get your vibration back. And if that means, quote unquote, putting your head in the sand for a while and ignoring these horrible things in the world, that's better than letting this bad energy take you down. So that's basically what this slide is all about. Wendy, do you have anything to add?
Absolutely, because the doom and gloom report and complaining and being unhappy and angry, those are very, very infectious energies. It takes some discipline and some self-love and self-respect and love for others to get control of yourself and to be working to raise your vibration and frequency and to be sharing more of that energy. And again, it does not mean putting head in the sand and pretending it's not happening, because just like when we stuff emotions, women in particular, in many Western cultures are told again and again and again, well, you're not supposed to be angry. You're not allowed to be angry. And that's very disempowering. And where do you think we end up with a result from that? We end up with legions of people, women with a higher percentage, who are depressed, which I propose is anger turned inward because the person just didn't have a way to express the emotions. So we do have to feel our emotions. So we're not hiding our head in the sand, but we're making a conscious choice that we're going to do what we can to help. And we've got to be centered to do that first. Take your own pulse first, put your own oxygen mask on first.
Right. Okay.
So the question becomes, what lights you up? What makes you happy? What replenishes your soul? What's going to help you live your purpose on the planet? Are you taking that 15 minutes, that 30 minutes, that 60 minutes a day to enjoy your spiritual practice, to enjoy your own yard, your own neighborhood, your own family, your dog, your friends, to enjoy meditating, reading something uplifting, watching a comedy? There's so much. We live in a time of just such great choices where there is so many wonderful things we can watch, we can listen to, we can learn from. I mean, we can choose our Netflix, we can choose our YouTubes, we can choose our audio books, our podcasts. So that's the question, is what really lights you up, gives you more energy, makes you feel positive, versus being sapped and drained by the news showing horrible, terrible things going on, because we know if it bleeds, it leads. We know the news programming, we know the formula in this country and many other countries. So if you choose to opt out, then what lights you up, what replenishes you, what makes you happy.
Yeah, and
Anything to add there, Gregg?
yeah, I was starting to add before you asked me, sorry. But yeah, no, one of the things that came up in the online group healing circle today was we were talking about this exact topic. So we were talking about, yes, why don't you watch an uplifting show on Netflix or, whatever your platform is that you're on. And one woman said, and I've had this happen with my families, we get on Netflix and we're like, okay, which movie do you want to watch? Well, this one's about murder. This one's about murder. This one's about war. This one's about serial killing. This one's about murder. This is a police show, so there's murder in it. She was like, 80% of the shows are about murder, and yes, that's true. So your choices may be a little limited on depending on what platform there are, but you can do a search and find, there's some really phenomenal documentaries out there. The life after death ones. You can find it. It's out there, but
you can find them, and also those programmings those programs like Netflix and Prime Video, et cetera, they're smart enough that when you watch like 3 or 4 in a row that are, uplifting and happy, or they're old comedies, they can be from the 50s or the 60s or whatever era. They'll then suggest more of those shows and more of that programming. You don't have to go to the top 10 of what's most popular now, because maybe you want to specifically opt out of that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right. So here's a little slide I put together talking literally about roles. Okay. So what do I mean? So well, this goes all the way back to the idea of archetypes, personality archetypes. So Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, pioneered the concept of archetypes with his concept of forms. And additionally, Plato believed in a physical world and a non-physical universe of preceding idealistic patterns and designs. These concepts encompassed fullness, toughness, and so forth. So Carl Jung pivoted from this. He's the father of analytical psychology, and he expanded on the idea to create the concept of archetypes. So Jung was an expert in religious and legendary iconography, and he found that in his schizophrenic patients' dreams and fantasies, they frequently shared themes and symbols. So Carl Jung helped people harness their true self through their personality types. So how do you feel about the role you're gravitating towards, and does it make sense, and does it make you feel good? So Carl Jung, I feel like it was a psychologist who had one foot in the spiritual world. He was an amazing guy. And so let me just kind of rattle through these archetypes and see which ones you may be experiencing. Maybe there's a couple of them, but the point is you can change, and you've always got choice in the matter. So there is the innocent. The goal is to be happy. The flaws, you're too trusting. Your skill is you're open-minded. The orphan, the goal is to belong. Flaws, you're a cynical person. Skill, you're open and you're a realist. The hero, the goal is to belong. The flaws, you need to fight. The skill is courage. The caregiver, the goal is to help others. The flaws, martyrdom, and the skill is compassion. The explorer, the goal is a full life. Flaws, wandering, and the skill is autonomy. The rebel, the goal is to change norms. The flaw is crime, and the skill is, or I would say maybe breaking rules, and that skill is wild freedom. The lover, the goal is relationships. Flaws, pleasing all, people pleaser, and the skill is friendship. And the next one is the creator. The goal is to realize a vision. The flaws are perfectionism, and the skill is imagination. The next archetype, the jester. Goals to lighten up, flaws, wasting time, and the skill is humor. The sage is the next one. Goal is wisdom, the flaws are no action, and the skills are intelligence. The next one is the magician. The goal is transforming, the flaws are egotistical, and the skill is win-wins. And the final is the ruler, and the goal is prosperity. The flaws are authoritarianism, and the skill is leadership. So if any of these, ring true to you, these are kind of like personality traits, and maybe you kind of experience a couple of these, but just, see how maybe you're wired. But the point is always ultimately this: follow your bliss. What makes you feel good and comfortable, and are these pursuits healthy? Because with each one of these archetypes, there is a flip side of it. There is a quote unquote flaw. So be mindful of that. We come into a world of balance. So even our personalities are wired, with a light and a dark side. So, the shadow self, as Richard Rohr calls it. So, what is, embrace your shadow. Don't run away from it. Understand what it is. And if you've got, quote unquote flaws, I don't know. I don't necessarily like that term, but what's your flip side? Is that something you can use to your benefit to help others? So Wendy, what are you thinking about here with this?
I think these skills versus flaws, the way it was presented, they're just simply the two ends of the spectrum. And too much of anything is not a good thing. You know, that one beautiful cup of coffee a day may be fantastic, but you don't need 3 pots of
Right.
coffee.
Yeah, I
And
like that. I like how you're looking at this because, like you said, for instance, I'm looking at the caregiver now. So the goal is to help others, and the flaw. If you take that too far, you're helping other people. The flaw is what they're calling martyrdom. But I've seen that in people who can be too generous, too giving, to the point where they wear themselves down.
burnout.
Right. Exactly.
It's total fatigue and shutdown. I mean, that's a really big issue.
Right.
So the caregiver again has got to put their own oxygen mask on first and take their own pulse first and be just taking great care of themselves to really then be able to serve others in the way that they're meant to, in the way that just lights them up,
Right.
versus uh, you can be in your ego, in any of these places. Like a caregiver can be in their ego of never having time for themselves, always trying to serve others, help others, fix others. That's an ego place.
Right. Very good point.
When you're feeling that you know better. And it's also the person who overschedules themselves 1000% to the max. We've all either been this person or know this person. And it's because it's this trauma response of just have to be constantly busy, 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 giving, 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 doing, 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 and just can't settle to say, gosh, what would be some simple things that would make me happy and just light me up so that I can just uh, replenish, so that you're able to refresh and recharge. It's the person that says, oh, I can run on 4 hours sleep a night. Well, maybe you can for a time period, but that's not going to be sustainable for most people in the long run.
Right. And the other one that jumped
So
out.
yes, these are powerful. These are great.
Yeah, the other one that
There's
jumped out.
also past life patterns or specific past life archetypes that fit in really, really well with these.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Now, what I was trying to say, that the sage, I thought was, I'm a little amused by that one because it says the goal is wisdom, the flaws are no action, and the skill is intelligence. Well, sometimes it's better not to act than, reciprocate, the wheel of action, the wheel of karma. If somebody punches you in the nose, like maybe it's better not to punch that person back, kind of thing. So I don't know if that's necessarily a flaw, but I suppose
Sure.
if you're just sitting around meditating all day long, and to other people maybe that looks like you're being a bum. I don't know, but
I was thinking it of the person who's highly intelligent but not willing to make a decision. They always want more data, they need more information, and they're not willing to act
oh
even
yeah,
when it's appropriate.
yeah,
That's
analysis
how I was interpreting that. Analysis
analysis
paralysis, yeah.
analysis, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on. Okay, Wendy.
All right. So, what if your role in a chaotic world is to do your best to be the heaven on earth energies, to be peace, to be love, to be joy, whichever of those really light you up, if any of them do? Because again, in Western society, we're taught and we're rewarded for do, do, do. And it just can become quite the insanity loop, versus being something and really embodying that energy and then just gently rippling this out, which is why I chose this incredible image of these beautiful, unusually colored waters. I don't know where this is. My sense is like Australia, maybe. I don't know, but just the pinks and the blues are just amazing. So much focus on do, and when I kept being told in my own healing sessions where I was the client, we need you to be. And I heard again and again and again from my higher self and my guides, we need you to be. And I'm like, be what? I don't get it. I just don't understand. That took me a good decade to really start to understand that, because I didn't understand energy at the beginning when I was first being told that. So, but a person that's peacefully in their power and it's happy. I mean, everyone in the room just gravitates to them because they're just happy with themselves. They're centered. They're not rocked by public opinion all the time. They're not worried about trying to get their social likes or however many Instagram followers, whatever it might be. They're not in all that do type energy. They're just happy to be here and do the best they can to be themselves, learn who they really are, and just live their purpose from that way and from that manner. Most of the clients I work with are quite surprised when their higher self and guides help them understand what their purpose is, because it's often something so simple yet so profound that they can't see it, but it makes perfect sense once they hear it. And it's something like uh, be peace for everyone you meet. I mean, that's a really big purpose. Or to be the most loving, wise parent that you can. That's your purpose in life, this lifetime. And again, that is simple, yet it's profound, and it's not easy to do. Because these things may sound easy on the surface level, but if you start to really look at how would I be that? How would I embody that? How would I be that in a chaotic world? I think a lot of things start to fall away. So, comments on that, Gregg?
Yeah, we were literally talking about that today in the circle where we were talking about, well, what's your role in a chaotic world? What's just your role anyway? It's your role. What should your role be? It's to be loving kindness. If that's the path, that's the way. And and then we joked, well, that sounds simple, just like you were saying. And I made the comment, like there was a board game back in the 70s that my family used to play. It was called Mastermind, and on the advertising on the box, it said, minutes to learn, lifetime to master. And I said, that's pretty much what this is, minutes to learn. Okay, your role in life is to be loving kindness. Okay, now spend the rest of your life trying to do it, because, even if the outside world isn't that chaotic, you're going to bump into people in your life who are going to rattle you off that path with things they say and do. And it's your job to figure out your way of staying on that path with compassion and mercy and kindness and love. So it's not anything else. I just want to point that out. Anything else,
Yes.
like striking back and getting even and defending yourself and all of that stuff, that's old world, behavior that
3D duality.
we've seen where that gets you. There's history books full of that stuff. The conflicts and the wars and the battles and the skirmishes and the scandals and the politics and all that stuff. That's can't we learn from that? We should, because we're otherwise we're repeating it, right? So it's your role. Your role is just to be that light. And if you're around other people who aren't, it's your role to be the lighthouse. And Wendy, like you said, you once you raise your vibration, sometimes you can just walk into a room and you don't even have to say anything, and other people will look up and smile and say, "Oh, look, it's Gregg or it's Wendy." Your vibration will affect them, and that's a great goal. That's a great role to have in life. It's just to be. That's all you do in your life, that's massive. So
absolutely. And this is making me think of the soul contract that I had with the gentleman who woke me up spiritually. One of the soul contracts we had was for him to inspire me to be fully in my power without abusing it. And I think that was just a beautiful way of that helped me move down the path of how do I help be peace?
Yeah.
Because that was what I cared about the most coming into this lifetime. So how could I engender that?
Right. Well, I wanted to take a bit of time talking about this idea of point of focus or point of view, how important your thoughts are. You know, what you focus on, what you think about changes your emotions, and your emotions create a frequency. They generate a frequency in you, whether you know it or not. You're always doing it. So if you're always doing it, why don't you put your hands on the steering wheel and start steering your actions? So it starts with what you're looking at and what you're focusing on. And like we were saying earlier, if you're focusing on something negative, that's like like I said, like an infection. Those vibrations go into you, and it changes your vibration, and it changes your behavior, and it may change you in a way that you don't like. So, first thing, stop watching or participating in the stuff that's not making you feel good. Gravitate towards the things that are, and then take it from there. So I just want to I want to throw some science at this idea of what you experience, how it affects you, how your thoughts actually literally affect not just you, but the things around you. So in the 1990s, Masuro Emoto performed a series of experiments observing the physical effects of words, prayers, music, and environment on the crystalline structures of water. So basically what he did was he would get, as many as 200 people to look at and think about a vat of water that was just water. And he would get them to think about things like love. So down here, if you are able to view what the slide has, it actually shows. So they would, let me just back up. People would look at a vat of water and think about love. And then they would freeze the water, and then they would look at it under a microscope. An entirely different group would look at a vat of water and they would think about hate. And then they would freeze that water and look at it under a microscope. So what you see here on the left, lower left, are three slides. One that is manifestation of love, the other of thank you, and the one on the right, I hate you. So you can see that the ones that are of a higher vibration look like snowflakes. They're beautiful, they're crystalline, they're very organized, they're in beautiful patterns, geometric, sacred geometry. I hate you looks like cancer cells. I mean, it's distorted, it's no pattern, it actually physically looks ugly. So those are real vibrations. Those are manifested through thoughts that people, they didn't even touch the water. They just looked at it and thought these things. So imagine that. If your thoughts can change physical matter, then holy crap, maybe we ought to start paying attention to what we're saying and thinking, right? So luckily, people at the Maharishi University have realized this, and they have done a bunch of experiments with mass meditations. So starting from 2002 to 2006, they showed a distinct correlation between large groups practicing advanced transcendental meditation and a drop in US crime rate. So a series of these studies spanning over those decades showed the baseline crime went down. So this time, the period between 2007 and 2010 was recorded 21.2% drop in homicide, 18.5% decrease in violent crimes overall. That's significant. That's statistically significant. To give you a better idea.
Incredible. That's huge.
It is. To give you a better idea of the specificity of this research, right? Scientists estimated that 8,157 US homicides were avoided. 1,057 homicides were avoided. The sampling was taken from 206 urban areas around the country, each with a population of over 100,000. So anyway, so over on the left, we see what small groups of people can do with matter. Over on the right, we see what large groups of people can do just with changing their vibration. And it radiates out in the region and changes behavior. So
Yes,
um,
that's just remarkable. And I think my belief is it's erroneous information that there's more murders and more violent crime. There's more reporting of it,
right,
is what's going on. But when you look at the population, there's actually less
right.
because I mean, television used to be, it was only on so many hours a day, and there were only 3 networks. And when that Peacock came on, it was done for the day.
Right.
It was like
Yeah.
it closed out. Remember when we could only watch cartoons on Saturday morning? Those of us of a certain age,
Right.
we just so waited as kids for Saturday morning because there were a couple hours of cartoons to be able to watch. So it's just there's so much reporting of the negativity.
Yeah.
And I love this, the crystalline structures. The one on the right to me, where the people were expressing, I hate you, I see like a figure in it, and it looks like he's got blinders on, which is just, fascinating how you can interpret these. But I agree with everything you said, Greg. I know they've done the same studies with plants. And
Mm.
I think it was one of my daughters in junior high school, as their science project, they had 3 plants, and they specifically spoke really kindly and were just like over the top with one and took this exquisite care of it. And the other one, they were just very neutral with. I mean, they watered it, but they didn't really do anything with it. And the other one, they were just said the most horrible things to this poor plant. And you could see this remarkable difference, just like with this water,
Yeah.
crystalline energy, structural changes. So that's my point, our point about putting out that energy. So, what is our role in a chaotic world? It's to put out the best energy we can. And maybe that is more powerful than anything else we can do.
Well said.
There's a Native American prophecy about the white calf buffalo. The Hopi tribe, the Lakota Sioux, and other Native American tribes have been making prophecies and waiting for the birth of white calf buffalo since the 1930s, as I did some research on this. And the prophecy is when the 7th generation of white calf buffalo are born, peace on earth will return. And I was not able to find photos of white calf buffalo, so give me a little poetic license here because they are rare. But guess what? We're there. We've already had that 7th generation, and I had talked in an earlier episode about having seen them myself at 2 different locations in Mount Shasta, California, and in Roseburg, Oregon. And it just was jaw-dropping to see them. And I took photographs, and the photographs did not come out. So they did not want to be energetically shared at that time. But I can tell you, uh, as I mentioned earlier, the reason I incarnated into this lifetime was to see peace on earth. And I believe we absolutely can see it within our generation. And that's part of why there's so much chaos, because you can't shine the light on things, you can't balance the energies, you can't embrace your shadow, you can't do your work if it's all being hidden and just covered up. That's not going to be affected effective. I mean, that's like an infected wound. I mean, sometimes we have to um, do some deep digging to have that wound be able to heal properly from the inside out. And I think that's what we're doing. I think that's what we're being invited to do at this time, is to find the best of our own energy and take wonderful care of ourselves, so that we then just ripple that out and do that with those around us.
Right. I just want to underline something that you said there. And again, that we talked about this in our circle today. It's, some people were asking, well, what is the point? What's the spiritual point of things like the news and so forth? And it does play a role. The role is to show you what you don't want. Because without that,
Mhm,
it would be hard for you to understand what you do want and move
mhm.
towards its opposite. So it does have a role. So, but that's all you need to digest. Like don't take it on from there. So
Absolutely. I just was working on writing my next book today, and I was transcribing some things that came through from one of the Ascended Masters back in 2014. So it's not like it was fresh in my mind. And that was exactly what Yeshua was doing. Was he was giving some examples of things that have not worked, and giving it just as the example to know, because Earth has been the great free will experiment of the galaxy. So we have certainly done our thrashing about to figure out how can we raise our vibration and bring in more light, and also embrace the dark, because there is value to, for instance, do you want to sleep with, take a literal physical example, do you want to sleep and try and relax with bright lights on 24/7? I don't think so. It's like we kind of need both, and you've got to, see that contrast. And there's also that void energy, like when we're in utero, it's very dark. you know it's like, don't consider everything dark as evil and a problem and to be avoided. It's just, we've got to embrace it all, and to just get to that center. And we do have to learn where we're meant to be, by trying those two ends of the spectrum, back to those archetypes again, or back to that metronome. Takes that metronome some time to find that center. So often, someone who's leaving a romantic relationship, if they don't do a lot of um, self-reflection, and give themselves some time to really think it through, they'll often jump into a very opposite type of relationship, because it's just, again, haven't found that beautiful center and that beautiful middle of the road. So we'll jump into that opposite.
hey,
Well, please join us on April 10th. We'll be together again for the next episode of Waking Up Spiritually. We love hearing your suggestions, and we also do look at the statistics of what people have been downloading and finding helpful, and where we get the most comments. So please just let us know what would be helpful for you, and we're happy to talk with our guides and just create content in that area. You can join us via our Facebook group, which is Waking Up Spiritually. You can go to our website, wakingupspiritually.com, and click on the broadcasts link, and you'll find almost 2 years worth of content there. So there's almost 50 episodes there. Or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and it'll just come up for you automatically. And please rate and review us on Apple iTunes or your favorite podcast app, because that just helps other people find it too. And you can visit Gregg at his website, which is Gregg, Gregg, Kirk.com, or go to my website, which is my full name, wendyrosewilliams.com, and you can request a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment with me there, and we can discuss how I might be of service to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us today. We appreciate you, and we appreciate the important role that you are playing in this chaotic world as we all work to raise the vibration together.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.